Mostly when people talk about ground reaction forces, it is in the context of long drive champions and how they really max out these crazy exercises of jumping, sliding, twisting to get maximum force into the handle. And although that is really interesting, I think then we often lose the context and the importance of ground reaction forces in a regular swing. And that is, ground reaction forces are essentially about moving energy through our body and out into the handle and the club so that we definitely create power, but also get the club moving on the most efficient path. So that's what we're going to have a look at in this video. So keeping it really simple, ground reaction forces are called that way because when you push into the ground, there's a reaction that pushes back. So very simply, if I'm going to jump, I would sort of drop down and I would push downwards, which lifts me upwards. If I want to push in myself in that direction, I would push the ground away in that direction, if you like. So in the context of the golf swing, rather than say pushing with my upper body, if I could really use the ground, I am now recruiting my ankle, knee, hip, and really generating much more force and energy through the body. So available to us then in the golf swing, we have obviously side to side, which is akin to skating, pushing the ground sideways. Obviously, we don't move our mass in this magnitude, but there is that side to side push. We have up and down, so back to the Pete Cowan spiral staircase, dropping down into the knees and pushing off. And you'll recognize that with players like McIlroy, who has that little kind of pop into the knees. But it's that vertical force will be present with most, certainly tour players, some more obvious than others. We have rotation, and rotation can be done through hip muscles and torso in this kind of manner, or it can be done by using the ground with how we kind of push and pull the feet. So we know then that some forces are going to keep the club behind you, some forces are going to throw the club out in front of you. So let's have a really quick look at that. It's very simple. Essentially, if you are moving laterally, if you're moving sideways and there's nothing else going on, you will typically get a dropping of the arms down behind you, so keeping the club on the inside, which is why it's so important that that first move is a lateral push sideways, mostly through that trail foot. Once we start getting rotating, the rotation of the hips, and if you rotate the hips fast, it will typically keep the club behind you. And you do it too long, you're going to keep the club behind you too long and you're going to lose it way right. Whereas rotating the upper half, well, that would definitely get the club swinging out in front of us, which of course we do want to happen at some point, but definitely not early on in the swing. So we would save that till later. So we get this sequence where we are moving sideways and then we are turning our body later, which will swing the club into the ball to kind of release it and to square it up. And then the vertical forces, the kind of jumping, if you like, well, that will slow the handle and speed the club head up. That's more of a braking force. So I'm dropping into the floor and I'm pushing and I'm driving and then slowing the handle and speeding the head up as I jump off the floor. So in short, think about it like throwing. If we're going to throw a ball, there is the same sequence of how we use the ground. We're going to move back just before we get to the end of a backswing. We're going to push off from the back foot and slide sideways. So we're going lateral first. We're then pushing up and rotating, or probably rotating first, then pushing up, and also braking with that front foot. As we hit the ground with that foot, we're braking, pushing up, and then launching the ball, with our arm last. Get that in the wrong order. Let's say we rotate before we go lateral. Then clearly we're not going to get the power going that way. We'll probably throw the ball down this direction. So in the golf swing, we need to have always that order and sequence of moving the forces laterally first, then using the knees and hips preferably, not the shoulders, get the body rotating, while then moving up and braking with that front foot. And that's how we get these amazing swings that create all that power, but everything decelerates at the right time and the club comes to this amazingly poised finish. So most of my sessions, there is always an element of what's going on with the ground. I mean, we've got force plates and pressure mats to kind of measure this stuff, but it's far less, doesn't need to be scientific and mindy and cognitive. A session on ground reaction force is often more intuitive and fun than a regular session looking at positions and what the club is doing. And we use exercises like stepping back and moving forwards, moving your center of mass, maybe moving back and stepping in to kind of wallop it. And then all of a sudden the swing starts to become good fun, movement in shoes, and it's far less technical, even though we're hitting some really kind of technical aspects of generating force and moving energy through the body and into the club. So one of my favorite exercises is with the balance board. What an amazing bit of kit this is to really weed out some of the unwanted forces, pulls and pushes and rotations that go on in a regular golfer's swing. So obviously it's just a board. I'm sure you've seen these with a pivot point in the middle, so it rocks left and it rocks right. And there's different drills you can do on it, but the standard exercise would be to start left, move our mass, so when I say mass, or move our body over a little bit to get some pressure into the right side. You don't need to make a full swing, but what is key now is that we get some pressure down into that front foot before we get any rotation. And you'll recognize that motion from anyone who sort of swings over the top. But not always someone who swings over the top. With enough practice, you can turn that movement into a deliverable position. But you're going to have all these kind of pulls and forces through the body that are not helpful and will definitely stunt your progress. So let's have a go at that. What I particularly like about this exercise is if you go too early with rotation, you can see what happens to the board. Immediately, it's kind of sheared and spun. I'll do that again and hit one. So I'll go to the top, and that was me pulling with my left side and trying to rotate before I got pressure on the board with my left foot. And my legs have reacted and stopped me falling over, but spun the board that way. So that is a definite sign that, now, regardless of the shot, I mean, that's pretty obviously not a very good shot, but regardless of the shot, I've now got some amazing feedback about my sequencing. So like anything, I would build this slow. I would start really slow. I've got to take out that kind of aggressive force with my upper body, and then slowly over time build it into something more powerful. So initially, can I just move back, step left, and then swing, just gently. And you'll see, compared to the other swing I just made, my legs look really different as well. Right leg, left leg, down. Now that one, I did a really good job of getting left, but I didn't feel like I slowed myself down very well. I ended up falling that way. So that's me then not pushing back hard enough with this leg to slow everything down. So my point being, often we look at the swing and we look at kind of what's happening. We see what's happening with the body. Oh, my head went forwards. Let me see if I can keep my head back. But these things are a reaction to other things going on, normally with how you're moving energy through the floor. So if the knee's looking, crumpled in the through swing, it's not that we need to straighten the knee, it's that we need to use the leg much more effectively to kind of push back and push up. So are we looking at form, or are we actually looking at the function of the swing? And that's where ground reaction force is absolutely vital for understanding anybody's movement. So then oftentimes, it's easy to look at a swing and you can see the obvious patterns of maybe the arms coming over the top or underneath, and we put canes in the ground and we think about how we're moving the arms. But in actual fact, how we apply forces through the ground and through our lower half is probably more at the heart of the matter. And that could save you a whole lot of time and kind of fighting your swing. So moving forwards on the channel, we're going to do a whole lot more on intuitive movement and these ground reaction forces. Until I see you next time, I would definitely recommend getting a board like this. There are other brands available. And in the new year, I'll be going to see Marcus Bell, who's a real expert in these ground reaction forces and keeping movement intuitive and fun. But until I see you next time, good luck, play well.